The school board work session begins in 1 minute. Please take your seats. Again, the school
Good morning. I now call the December 1st, 2025 Administrative Briefing and Work Session of the Marion County School Board to order at 9 a.m. Please silence your electronic devices to avoid disturbing others. Mirroring and modeling how our students begin each day, I ask that you please pause with us for a moment of silence. Please join me. I will now read the board's commitment statement. We are the Marion County School District Leadership Team. When we come together to work, we are efficient, effective, and productive. Our three most important characteristics are dedicated, transparent, and individually responsible. To work well together, we must demonstrate respect, confront reality, and be accountable. We will always put students first, and we will leave a legacy of success. I would like to ask the school board attorney to explain the rules for the public workshop. Good morning, Attorney Powers.
Good morning, and thank you, Madam Chair. This work session is a public meeting as defined in Florida's Sunshine Law. The board is dedicated to full transparency in its meetings and its work. In compliance with the Sunshine Law, the board has adopted uniform meeting procedures, including the right for citizens to participate. The board will allow public comment regarding any work session item listed on today's agenda at the appropriate time. Speakers must fill out a request form located in the lobby and hand it to the board clerk. After the board and superintendent have completed their discussion on a particular agenda item, the board clerk will call the speaker's name in the order received. Each speaker will have 3 minutes. As required by the Sunshine Law, the board must maintain orderly conduct and proper decorum throughout its meeting. Speakers must be very careful not to violate the privacy rights of others, especially students and their family members, by mentioning names or other identifying information. Thank you for your attention to these important rules.
Ms. Martinez-Young, can you please provide the proof of publication for today's meeting?
The notice for the December 1st, 2025 work session was published in the Ocala Gazette on November 21st, 2025. Proof of publication has been attached to board docs under proof of publication.
Thank you, and I want to welcome Mr. Whitehouse, our Deputy Superintendent, who's joining us today. Seeing as this is a board item, I'll kick it off, if that's okay with you, Mr. Whitehouse. All right, so we are here today to get the results from our phase 1 of our superintendent search. So we have HYA here on the screen. I guess Mr. Christian will be able to kind of show them to the audience as needed. They are here via Zoom. We are grateful for both of you to be here today. You can hear us, right? Yes? Okay, awesome. So we are going to, I'm going to kick it off to you all, and then if you guys want to go through the documents or however you want to lead us through this, that'd be great.
We're prepared to go through the 3 documents and to share an overview of each, if with your permission.
That sounds perfect. We'd love for you to get started. Just let us know whichever one you want to start with, and the board can make sure we have that document handy.
Okay. We begin with the leadership profile report.
All right, and then just for the work of today, board, do you want to hold questions until the end of each report? Yeah, so I think that's what we'll do, team, if that's okay. We'll go ahead and sit and listen to you all present, and then we'll collect our questions for the end of the first document.
Okay, there are 3 documents, and just to put them all into perspective, the leadership profile report that is up on screen now is a 37-page document. The good news is we're not going to go over all 37 pages. The first 8 pages really serve as an executive summary. And I'm just going to give a little overview of that, and then Stacy will come in and talk specifically about the strengths that were shared by various stakeholder groups, and she'll also share the challenges as well as the characteristics that were provided by the various stakeholder groups as far as desired characteristics for the successor superintendent. As you look at the overall document, we're pleased to report that we interviewed or focused or had focus group meetings with 276 individuals or group or combination of groups. There were also 2,052 respondents to the survey. Now, we acknowledge some of those may overlap. Some people may have been in a focus group and also completed the survey. But if you combine the two, there were a total of 2,328 responses. Important that we did have the opportunity to interview individually each of you, the 5 elected members of the school board. And then as you look at the building level staff, we had a high level of participation there from your building level staff administrators, leadership at the building levels, and 23 from central office, specifically cabinet members, for a total of 120, a total actually of 241 when you combine those two numbers. Staff, other than administrative staff, a total of 672 when you combine the survey responses along with those that participated in the interview process. We did interview the leadership from the collective bargaining units, and as far as community, we were disappointed with the 3 community intake sessions, 1 in person, 2 virtual with the number there, but a total of 83 did respond to the survey for a total of 101. For support staff, totally between the 2 columns, 576. And really the one that excited us was the in-person with students, 75 plus. We didn't get an exact account, and then 616 students responding to the survey for a total of 691 students. Retired staff, although not a great number, there were 20 retired staff that participated. So when you combine everything between the 2 columns, as I mentioned at the outset, 2,328 intake comments and or survey completed. We did find, and this is important, between the focus groups and the survey, a lot of consistency. And we do that to make sure that there's an interrelated response, so that we're able to make a comparison. I do want to just say that when you look at this, we did try to run a few t-tests, very difficult because of the selection process and how people elected to participate. But we just want to emphasize that although we're very confident in the data, it's not a scientific sampling, and it shouldn't necessarily be viewed as representing a majority of opinion of each of the groups we talked to. But we did include anything that we thought was important that the board should be aware of in all 3 documents, but in this one in particular. We also note that there were some loud voices that might not necessarily always represent the entire group, or maybe a more silent majority. But overall, very pleased with the participation and the level. With that, Stacy, if you'll jump into the specifics, take it from there, please.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Great to see you all again. I'm not going to read, as my colleague and spouse has indicated, we're not going to read this verbatim, but I will go over the highlights of the strengths and the challenges. And I think in both cases, there's probably no surprises here to anyone in the room. First and foremost, as a strength of the district and quite frankly of the community at large, was the strong community culture. It has been described as close-knit, having strong family values, families and community engaged, high level of school pride, and definitely a place where people want to live and raise their families, as was also indicated by the multi-generations or those who may have gone away when they went to college and have come back to raise their families. We see that as just permeating throughout all of the focus groups that we conducted, including the students who enjoy growing up there and enjoy their time in the district as well, and also seeing that the community is highly engaged. I will also add, this is not a verbatim, but someone indicated in one of the sessions that in as much as the county is growing and in some ways changing, that they felt that their school and their community, their school district and community was very welcoming, right? There's this sense that everyone has a place and that they embrace this changing, albeit, as we'll see in the challenges, that might be one of the greatest challenges, but that everyone was welcome, and that the community at large is very much one of those belonging types of communities. With that comes the dedicated and high quality staff, heard over and over and over again, and in addition to all of the focus groups, in particular the students, that just the staff is dedicated. Now, we will see as a part of our challenges that keeping staff might be one of those greater challenges, but those staff that are in the schools at whatever level, whether it be teaching or leadership or support staff, that they are dedicated to the students first and foremost, and that is definitely embraced by all of the parents and the community at large. So as you'll see in one of the comments, that they regard the staff as amazing. And that the next one will align with regard to your strengths is that visible and improving leadership and communication. In particular, they are seeing that this one team, one mission focus is permeating throughout the district. There definitely has been this change of late, crediting the current interim leadership team that is in place, and that the leadership team is visible, approachable, that they have begun to know people's names, which we heard in different areas and focus groups, that's really important, that they are definitely engaged, not only just in the district, but in the community events, and are open to communication, both two ways, not just a top-down approach. Then the diverse student opportunities and programs certainly is becoming more and more with that visibility out there in the community as well as throughout the district. The students also indicated that there was lots of opportunities for them. I think there's a desire for more, but with that being said, whether it be the IB program, the Cambridge program, and in particular the CTE programs are getting much more visibility. Now, there's always, again, a place for more and more communication about all the different opportunities, especially along those groups that may not be as involved or engaged in the district activities. How do you connect with all students across? But certainly it was acknowledged that there are opportunities across the district for students. And then the growth in the economic opportunity, which will go hand in hand with some of the challenges is that, again, that embracing of the changes that are happening, that Marion County is growing, more people are moving there. They find it to be a great place to live and to work and to raise a family and or to stay, right? There's no reason to leave, even if your family has grown and maybe not be in the county. There's certainly great reasons to be a part of this community, and that in particular, there's economic opportunity. With that, we'll move into some of the challenges. You will see that some of your strengths are some of your challenges. And with that rapid growth, first and foremost, it was clearly acknowledged that the financial stability and the ability to keep up, the ability to maintain, especially in light of some of the funding losses from the state, are in play, and that is well known throughout the county. It clearly was a point that rose through most of the focus groups about the financial challenges that the county currently has with regard to the school district, and will continue to have, especially as the growth occurs and this imbalanced growth where there's growth in one area of the county and not in the other. So that accessibility and that equity across the board in all parts of the district will certainly be top of mind as you progress through the future with these constraints. The infrastructure strains where you're growing in one area and having to build schools, as well as maintaining other schools that may be in need of repair or new facilities where there might not be the same amount of growth occurring. And so there becomes a high need to focus on resource allocation and that equity across the school district. Staff, the amazing staff that you have, the dedicated staff that you have. There's also an acknowledgement, though, on the other side that there are some shortages and that there's turnovers. And some of it is just embedded in the competitive compensation. How does Marion County compete with surrounding counties, especially coastal counties, that may offer a better compensation package for the staff across the board, whether it be teaching or support staff? And so that will be a high priority as you move forward in this with the new leadership. Student discipline and behavior was voiced. This has came up with students and teachers reporting different issues, whether it be the consistency and or challenges of keeping the discipline consequences consistent across schools and across the district. In some cases, it's seen as being too punitive, and in other cases, consequences are not offered as they should be, depending upon who you speak to. Certainly worthy of delving into more of those challenges with regard to behavioral issues in the district. Now, to move along with regard to the staff, the trust, the morale, and internal support was very much voiced that there is a history here or some long-term embedded low morale that has pretty much cut across the district, and that there seems to be a calling for this time of healing within the county district, and really feeling respected, as I mentioned, with regard to the visibility and this kind of change that has happened with this current internal team, that some of that has been occurring, and that it's important that staff be recognized, that that their names are known by leadership. Certainly they're known within the building, but outside in that central office becomes critical, and that valuing their voice in particular, and that they have said they were asked for input, but when they don't get any response to the input, whether or not it was accepted or not seems to be not the concern, just that they want to feel heard and that respond when input is offered, and that if they do speak out, there's this that there might be some retribution, some repercussions, some retaliation if they voice a dissenting voice in some of their input. So again, something to look at, but also, as I mentioned before, there is a feeling that some of that might be changing, that the tides may be changing. And then the last one is this external and political pressures, those things that are coming down by the state, which were referred to as Tallahassee issues, seems to be, for some of the focus group members, at odds with public education, right? And this is creating some of those financial challenges. Again, none of these different areas or topic areas within challenges live alone, right? And so there's that overlapping, and that the community influence, this lingering disposition that the community can weigh in on all the decisions that are made. Sometimes it's viewed as detrimental, and that to some of the staff. So that balance that needs to be struck between receiving input, offering the rationale for decisions that are made, whether or not it's accepted or not, but definitely having that two-way communication seems to be important. But noted, that is a priority with regard to challenges for the successor superintendent. So with that, that concludes the strengths and the challenges that were offered. And Bill, do you want to take it over for any questions that there may be with regard to this document?
Yes, but just to point out that the remaining part of the document from page 8 on are the actual comments made, and they're bucketed as strengths, challenges, characteristics desired in the next superintendent, and then any comments that were made that may not have fit into one of those categories, or that may have shed more light on information about the district and or the county. We strongly suggest that those comments be used when the transition is made, or even if something is made permanent in terms of your current team, that they be used in setting goals and reviewing the vision for the next 2 to 5 years. But certainly at this point, if there are any questions on this document, we'll try to respond.
Perfect, thank you all. I'm going to give it over to the board. What questions does the board have about this particular document? I know I have one, but I'll reserve it and see what others the board may have. Okay, I can go first. So I would just have a quick question, because as I was going through the different groups from the focus group questions that you have outlined, starting about, I don't know, page 10 or 9 or so, one of the questions that I think was included in all of the focus group questions was, is there anyone you think would be a good fit or should apply for the job? But I don't see that written as one of, the other 4 questions are kind of written here, but that 5th question was not included as part of your narrative.
We deliberately do not include the names of people, and we always ask the question, is there anyone out there who may be highly qualified that we should reach out to? And there were a number of names that came up, and we do not use that or take that as a poll. We're not polling, we're looking for characteristics. I will say that there were former employees, names that came up, as well as the current interim superintendent, whose name came up a number of times.
Okay.
But we don't use that, or we don't collect that as polling data. We simply use it to make sure that if an application goes out there, that those individuals are aware of the process and how to apply for the position.
Understood. Okay, thank you for that clarification. Board, is there any other questions about this document?
I don't have any.
Okay, Dr. Campbell.
No questions. I have commentary, but it's not necessary.
Okay.
Before we move on, I just would like to give a shout out to those who helped organize the focus groups before we move on to the next one. So Mr. Christian and Mr. Whitehouse and your administrative assistant, Elena Martinez-Young, were just instrumental in putting together the schedule and all of the invitations that went out, and in particular, the follow-up that was necessary in order to move the needle in soliciting and getting some of the, in particular, the survey results that were offered. So kudos to them. I just wanted to make sure we acknowledge them.
Yes, they were tasked, the board tasked them with a pretty expeditious timeline, and they all worked very quickly to make sure we got that taken care of. And so thank you for acknowledging their effort there. It was a heavy lift, and they did a wonderful job. I think I see Board Member Cummings maybe potentially has a comment.
So, Madam Chair, thank you. To this company, I'm looking at the participation in the survey groups. Is this the standard? Is this kind of the sweet spot for participation in a survey like this in the size county of this size, district of this size?
Bill, Board Member Cummings is asking about the survey. Do you want to just move into that? He in particular is asking about the numbers, the results, in comparison to other county districts of their size.
And we can transition to the survey report, Board Member Cummings, that can be the next one we discuss. Is that what you're looking to? Oh, okay.
I'm looking at that first group with stakeholders and that participation. 'Cause those numbers seem kind of low to me for a county this size.
Are you looking at page 2 of the
Yes.
document?
Yes.
So I think he's referencing the 2,000 individuals who participated in the survey. Is that right, Reverend Cummings?
Yes.
Is that a traditional response rate that you would see typically?
Typically, the largest group that responds are parents or guardians of current students. Then the next largest group that responds is generally staff. And then if students are involved as they were here, that would be the next largest, or sometimes can be the largest group, since they would represent internal stakeholders being the largest there. In comparison to other districts of similar size, a little lower in terms of total numbers than we like to see. Things began very slowly. Once we completed the second round of community meetings, although not well attended, that seemed to trigger a lot more interest. And then we know that staff in particular really then started pushing the survey out. And the response during the last 7 days of the survey were significant. But in terms of if you were to take a county of the size, a little on the low side. But overall, we think when you compare the two, some very good responses.
Okay, because you said the community meetings were not as attended. They were not that well. They didn't go that well, correct? And because that's where I'm having the issue at, where I've heard that already through the community, that the community meetings were not well attended or were not well received. And then I look at this report and I see nothing. So that's why I asked that question.
Well, with the community, we find a couple of variables. If people are really, really unhappy, they come out. If there's an issue, they come out. So on one hand, if the community participation is lower, that external community is lower, it generally would indicate to us that people are overall satisfied with the school district and what's happening.
Could it be that, and I would like to ask, could it be another variable that it may not have been communicated as well about the community meetings? Because that's what I get. That's what I'm consistently hearing. Have you heard? You haven't heard any of that?
Bill, did you hear him?
No,
Yeah, I'm sorry, we didn't hear
I can
This-
clarify. What his question was, is there a potential that the lack of participation was due to a absence of proper communication to make sure that people were aware of the community meetings?
It is my understanding that they pulled out, all the stops were pulled out to get the word out. And we did sessions on different dates and on different times as it fit into the calendar, given all the other activities that are happening in the school district as well as in the community at the time that we're doing those sessions. So I know the team really did their best to schedule them appropriately, to get the word out, to send out information on that, that they were occurring. So from our perspective, everything that could be done was done in order to spread the word about the sessions, and that there were both the in-person and the virtual sessions that occurred.
The only other thing it may be an indicator of is that how people receive and respond to information may be something that looks at as we look at and as with clients all the time. How are people responding and what do they respond to? But as far as the team and putting this out, we believe every effort was made, and that it's simply an indication that people are overall pleased with what's happening.
Thank you. Reverend Cummings, is that?
Oh, that doesn't satisfy. That's not satisfying. That answer is not satisfying to me, but we'll move on.
Board Member Thurr?
Just wanted to share, Board Member Cummings, we were advised before the meeting started that you have to have your microphone about 2 inches from your mouth for them to be able to hear you.
Oh, okay. Can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
And I will note, every opportunity I was at the town hall on the north end while the survey was still open, and it was mentioned in there. And there was a couple different community events where we were engaged in the community, and it was always mentioned while we were engaged with the community there. So I can definitely speak to that, but understand your hesitation there, Reverend Cummings. Board, is there any other comments from the board regarding the first document right now? Okay, well, what would be the next document you guys would like to transition to? Team, do you want to do the survey results?
Sure.
All right, as we look at the survey results, Stacy, can you go back to the page? That's it, yes. I'm just going to go through an overview, and then if you'd like to focus on any of the specific responses, we certainly can discuss those and compare the groups. But as we're looking at page 2 of the document, the survey is based on HYA superintendent leadership standards across 4 domains. Their vision and values, teaching and learning, community engagement, and management. As already mentioned, there were over 2,000 stakeholders that responded. And then the largest participating group, well, your staff in this case, and you'll note that I mentioned in response to the question, usually parents and guardians would be the highest response. But if you look at the numbers, when we look at those specifically, the staff, non-administrators, represented 32.1%, or 658 of the total number. Students represented 30% of the respondents, or 616, and parents and guardians represented 26.9%, and that was 552. So as we look, and Stacy, go back to page 3, please. As we look at an executive summary, the district strengths, and as you'll note from what Stacy reported on, now very specifically, district schools are safe under teaching and learning. The next strength, the district engages in diverse racial, culture, and socioeconomic groups. and engages with. Again, community engagement. The district employs effective teachers, administrators, and support staff, management. The district engages the community as a partner, community engagement. And then in terms of the next strength, the district offers a clear and compelling shared vision and values. Now, if you take those and then superimpose them on what people said when we get to the superintendent qualities, again, the most frequently selected characteristics from that group: foster a positive professional climate of mutual trust and respect, recruit, employ, and retain effective personnel, be an effective manager of district finances and operation, be visible in the schools and community, actively engage with stakeholders, and then understand and be sensitive to the needs of diverse student populations. So as we look at the overview, let's go to page 6 and look at the key findings. And this was based on a Likert scale of 1 to 5, with the positive being reported as agree or strongly agree, which would be a 4 and a 5. So we saw in terms of patterns, administrators consistently rated the district the highest across the board. Students and community business members rated the district lowest across all categories. But what were the highest rated items? Well, the highest overall was school safety at 54%. Engagement with diverse groups, 51%. Effective staff employment, 51%. Community partnerships, 50%, and a clear vision, 49%. They were the highest overall. If you look at the lowest rated items, AI integration into the classroom, just 21%. Use of AI tools for learning, just 26% across the board. Addressing social and emotional needs, 34%, and fiscal responsibility, 36%. So they're overall patterns. But then we looked at each of the categories and looked at agree, strongly agree. Well, if you looked at vision and values across the board, there was a range of 42 to 49%. Teaching and learning, mixed, with safety ranking highest, AI and readiness indicators low. And that readiness was in reference to grades K through 12 and students being prepared to move beyond that point. Community engagement, stronger ratings, but especially around partnership and the diversity of engagement. And then management, kind of moderate, with staffing and accountability rated higher than finances and AI use. So they were those categories. And again, just while sticking with the overview, Stacy, we go to page 7, leadership profile. When you look at the leadership profile report, and we'll go back and we'll look by category, most important characteristics overall, at 51%, foster a climate of trust and respect. 41%, recruit, retain effective personnel. 36% manage finances and operations effectively. And at 36%, be visible, engaged with the community. If we go down the list, the next level at 35% would be understanding diverse student needs. 32% provide a clear, compelling vision. 28% provide transparent communication, and at 25% use measurable, research-based student outcome practices. A little surprised that that one was at the lower end. So if we look at the notable differences between groups, well, administrators prioritize trust, high expectations, and communications. Parents emphasized personal quality and diversity sensitivity. Students ranked visibility and understanding diverse student needs higher than any other group. Community members valued research-based outcomes and recruiting effective staff. And retired staff, although only 20, strongly favored diversity, sensitivity, and superintendent visibility. So if you take, what are the key takeaways as you look at the survey? Well, Stacy mentioned this right at the very beginning in terms of the leadership profile report. Now, what are the takeaways from the survey? Culture matters most. The single strongest consensus, the next superintendent must build trust, respect, and positive professional climate. The next takeaway, human capital is a priority. Stakeholders want strong recruitment, retention, and staffing strategies. Operational competency is essential. Fiscal and operational management were amongst the top traits across the board. Visibility and engagement are expected. The community wants a leader who is present and interactive across the school district. Diversity and inclusion remains central, and that understanding diverse student needs ranked highest across most groups. And then AI readiness is identified as a weakness, very low confidence across all groups. And AI, this suggests, the suggestion is that this could be a major priority. So that's the overview. Now, as we look at the leadership profile in detail, you can see with the blue lines, every group across the board foster a positive professional climate of mutual trust and respect. And you can look by category, and see, for instance, if you look at staff, what their 4 priorities were. Again, these can be used when you do transition work with the current team or with any changes that may be made in the future. So that's an overview without getting into the specifics of each item, unless there are questions on each.
Thank you very much. Board, questions, comments, concerns about the survey data?
I don't have a question as much as it's commentary, really, and I know that that we kind of skipped over page 4 because we went to more of the compilation information, but I think page 4 tells a very interesting story in looking at the differences in how our staff views Marion County Public Schools versus how parents and the community members are viewing Marion County Public Schools. I think that tells a really bold picture for what we need to consider, understanding that community members made up a small portion of this survey, and we understand that. To Dr. Adams' point, sometimes those who are most disgruntled are the ones who are going to participate. So perhaps that also is what we're looking at here. But there does seem to be a significant discrepancy in the opinion of Marion County Public Schools across this spectrum. And again, I know that we kind of skipped over this because we did go to more of the compilation results. The other thing that was, I guess, shocking to me is showing how low the percentages are on people's confidence in our fiscal responsibility, because that also speaks to this board, because that's our job. So this isn't so much a reflection on what we're looking at for a new superintendent as much as it is on work we need to do regardless of who's sitting in that seat and any one of these seats, that we have to tell our story better. And I know Reverend Cummings was speaking to communication about how people were participating in all of this. And I think there's just a really big picture on communication when we're looking at some of this. So those are just anecdotal thoughts. This was the most glaring information of all of these results that we saw, was to show me the discrepancy and the differences in how our staff views the work we're doing in comparison to how everybody else does. So
Thank you, Board Member Campbell. I would have to agree. I think regardless of how all of this goes, this information is so valuable because the survey results specifically, I believe, lend themselves to provide feedback and structure, not just for staff and our superintendent, but also for the way of the work of the board. I do think it's important to take into context recent past events that then shift all of our memories when we are answering something about reflection. So we just had a really hard summer with a pretty significant budget shortfall, and that had impacts on pretty much the entire district. And so I could see why a community member or student or parent otherwise would say they have concerns about our fiscal management, because when you look at, well, how did you get yourself into a $64 million shortfall? That's a very valid question. And we worked through that as a board and landed at a budget we were able to adopt, but I certainly acknowledge that there would be hesitation or question about that, absolutely. And I think what is going to be, I know for myself as a board member, my hope and my plan is that when we go into this next budget cycle, beyond the legislative, because there's things we can't control, right? We all acknowledge that. The legislator got us a budget late, and that's why we were so far behind. But the reality is we were still spending too much money because they gave us what they gave us. And so my hope is that as we go into site-based budgeting next year, which I think is already, I mean, Dr. Campbell, you've been a champion of that for 6 years. So as we go into site-based budgeting, we are already going to be putting ourselves in, I think, a different position than we've ever been before, because schools will have to start taking some ownership of acknowledging what resources they can spend and what resources they can't spend. So I felt it important to at least acknowledge that particular component is probably heartburn left over from a not so recent past summer where we had to really make some significant cuts. Dr. Campbell?
Thank you. And the other piece that I saw here as well was, I'm going to call it a misnomer, but the $64 million shortfall, to your point, Chair James, was that we were spending too much money, and we just kind of were. Some of that was the holdover from ESSER and what all we put into place at that time. However, there also was survey data that basically says people believe that $64 million shortfall was because of the Family Empowerment Scholarship. And that's not actually accurate. And so I thought that was really fascinating as well, that that's what everybody thinks that is the challenge, and it actually isn't, because that money we wouldn't have gotten anyway. And so, yes, the state is certainly funding family empowerment scholarships, but that's not the cause of our $64 million shortfall at all. But the perception, again, telling our story, everybody believes, and that was consistent in here, they believe that that's why we were short, and that's not accurate. So nevertheless, there is very telling information in this, and so grateful for going through this process, having an independent third party helping us with how the information could be given to us and the different populations of folks that would participate. But it really has been telling for me to see what the perceptions are versus actually what reality is.
Well, and I just want to say, I would love to be able to do something like this again in 18 months to 2 years, regardless of who superintendent is, as a way to almost kind of metric pulse the same exact data to see, are we improving? Because I think that's the only way you really know if you're improving, is if you keep all the apples the same and you reassess it and you see, are we improving in some of these metrics? Because I agree, I think we've done so much work in the last 6 months or so on our telling our story. And so as we continue to strengthen that over the next 2 years and really tell a positive story, what will then these results look like? Is there any other board members who have comments about the survey? Board member Thurr? No?
I'll just say that all of this needs to be taken with a few grains of salt. What's interesting, the more informed you are about what goes on in our school system, the more you're on target with what the challenges are and what the successes are. It's interesting to me that just 5 days ago, our Finance Department, once again, earned the highest possible honor when it comes to public accountability and transparency, and this is for the 25th consecutive year. And I put that on Facebook for a reason, because that's where people go for information, whether accurate or inaccurate. And the apples change. You know, we're not going to have the same people, the same programs, the same mandates next year, let alone 18 months or 2 years from now. So what it really comes down to, in my opinion, is being responsive and continuing to build trust in the dynamic situation that is ever changing, that we currently have the responsibility as a board, largely, you know, to manage. We have tremendous change going on. It's well out there, to Board Member Campbell's point, that there are students that we're not getting paid for. Nobody knew where they were. I'm very glad to see legislation coming forward to begin to rein in that situation. I think what this survey shows to me more than anything else is the level of uncertainty and the need for very clear and precise information on an ongoing basis, which I think that we have done an amazing job as a district and as a board over the last, well, we'll just call it in 2020, because when COVID hit, the need for communication that was in the moment and accurate became an emergency. That's what it was an emergency. So we've gotten better at getting our message out there, and people are listening. It is disappointing to me that out of hundreds of thousands of people that make up Marion County and hundreds of thousands of people that seem to communicate on social media many times throughout a day, we're not hearing from. I think that's typical, and it's a shame. Society, I will continue to maintain, needs to shift. What we're experiencing now is not normal. But we have to navigate through it regardless, and that's what we're doing. I, too, have some very interesting takeaways, some of which I already shared. I think that there is the folks that are going to respond to a survey like this are the ones that have a vested interest in managing and controlling and having input on what happens in our schools for whatever purpose. It may be for what's best for kids, which is what I always default to. Of course they're responding because of what's best for kids. And in the end, you know, building schools and continuing to become more sophisticated in everything that we do is what's best for kids. But I will just end by saying that the folks that are working hard every day to make a paycheck probably aren't the ones that are thoughtfully responding in mass to this survey. So that's what I'm seeing. That's all I have.
Thank you, Board Member Thrower. Anything from Reverend Cummings or Board Member Conrad right now? Okay, go ahead.
I'll just share. It's commentary, so I just waited to the end. I will say when I looked at the survey results, thankfully there weren't a lot of huge surprises. I feel very in touch with what we need, what our schools need, what the district needs. But I also, I felt a little disappointed, as several of you have shared, but I also think it represents the challenges that we face, not just as a district, but as a state and as a nation. The lack of engagement that we feel in the classroom throughout the district and state is something that we're facing daily. And so when I look at the lack of participation in the survey, we had groups of even our own staff that didn't participate. You know, nothing from our bus drivers, custodians, or cafeteria staff. And we know that we hear a lot from that group. And we hear a lot on social media. That's an area that we know needs improvement. Nothing from elected officials or appointed officials. We only had one response from nonprofit, which we know we have, I feel as a board member, we have great relationships with our nonprofit. And then nothing either from our faith-based partners. So disappointed in some of these response, but again, also some of the challenges that we face as people are somewhat disengaged from the work at the community level. So that's really all I have at this time.
And if I could, just to clarify, because I completed the survey as a parent myself, if you represent multiple subgroups or identified groups, you could only select one. Is that correct? So if you were a
Yes.
parent, you could only be a parent.
You could only select, the directions on the survey said that if you represent more than one group, select the one that you feel that you're most associated with. The example for that could be a teacher and who is also a parent. How would you identify? But they can only select one.
Understood. Understood. And so there may have been representation from other groups that potentially felt their most prominent role was a parent. I know for me that is my most prominent role, regardless of all the hats I wear. Being a parent is my number one, which is why I responded the way I responded. So, and Reverend Cummings, did you have anything to add right now? Okay. Well, then I think we are ready to move on to the final document, the 2-page document, if that's okay.
Okay. We're going to address this in two ways, because this really to us is the most important document that results from the other two. This document can be used if you were to continue the superintendent search. It can be used as an evaluation tool for current leadership. It can be used to assist with any job description that you're developing. So what I'm going to do initially is provide about a 2.5-minute overview, and then we'll go into some of the specific categories. So as you look at the desired characteristics of the successor superintendent, they center on a strong, visible, people-focused leadership. Stakeholders consistently sought an authentic, humble, and approachable. What we heard actually from several different people that coined the term, and including one of you, Chief People Officer, who can be a trust builder and relationship builder across the entire district. The leader must value all employees, listen intently to input, empower their team. The leader must value all employees, listen intently to input, and make sure people feel they've been heard and that it's just not lip service. They should be committed to the long-term success of the county, avoiding the perception that they're using this position as a stepping stone. Must possess the ability to identify and mentor and grow leaders from within. This seemed to be very important across the board. They want an exceptional communicator who is transparent. That just seemed to be non-negotiable. It was felt that the successor superintendent is expected to be an outstanding communicator at all levels and can demonstrate honesty and openness, particularly with transparency behind the decision-making process, the why being very important. Core requirement is fiscal acumen and strong strategic thinking and the ability to manage the district's financial challenges. There was specific mention, and we've included it when we look at that specific one, to the voucher program and its impact and the ability to address those issues, perhaps not only in Tallahassee, but locally, and finding out the why some students might be lost to vouchers. Finally, the candidate must show a commitment to advocacy for the district, and again, at all levels. There was no question about a strong curriculum and instruction background and a K-12 perspective. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the ability to focus on some of the rising academic standards as well as some of the early childhood education. So as we look at the document itself, people-focused visionary leader with strong communication, financial, and relationship building skills. There are 5 target areas there. Leadership, trust, and people focus, communication and transparency, uh, strategic management and fiscal acumen, commitment to advocacy and community understanding, and the 5th area, educational expertise. So, Stacy, go back to the top, and as we look at this first bucket, trust builder and relationship builder, and then if you take the next 3, all interrelated in terms of style of leadership. And we lumped those 3 together because 4 of the 15 subcategories are included under leadership, trust, and people focus. And then as you look at communication and transparency specifically, there are 3 of the 15 items there. And we looked at, in particular at transparent and open. Superintendent should demonstrate transparency behind decisions with honest, authentic, and open in their communication. That's the genesis of those 3. As we look at the third target area, while all 3 are important, one of the areas that we saw as being particularly important is the visionary strategic thinker, and then proactive and data-driven, a problem solver, someone who's not reactive, someone willing to take innovative risk, and use that as a basis for recommendations as well as obviously solid data. The 4th area, we focused on community knowledge, must understand Marion County values, traditions, and nuances of this diverse county community as being the focal point there. And then as we look at educational expertise, clearly there, the solid background in K-12 education and that foundational skills K-2 is being highly desirable. Certainly the ability to set the standard for talent acquisition being very important as well. As you just look at the overall, the successor superintendent will have experience in a district of similar size, strengths, demographics, and challenges. While not required by Florida statute, because the position is considered a constitutional position, the district can require the same certificate that is required from the Florida Department of Education that is required for all others. This may already be a district requirement, but if it isn't, we do recommend strongly that certificate be required. So this is the 3 reports, or the first 2 reports, help us get to this report. And this is the one that if you were going to be using it to pursue a superintendent or using it for your selection process internally, we provide this as a document and provide it to you to alter in any way that you would see appropriate.
All right, thank you. We appreciate that summary. So we have gone through the 3 documents. I guess, board, let's open it up to your comment, and then maybe before we proceed, I'd love to see if we can get some public feedback as well before we, I guess, get deeper into our conversation. Board, how does that feel to you? Good. Good? Do you want to have any discourse right now, or are you ready to do some public comment?
I'm ready to hear some public comment.
Okay, wonderful. I do think we have 2 more individuals maybe completing forms, but we have 1 form turned in already.
Deborah Velez.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Deborah Velez, Chief Operating Officer with the Marion County Hospital District. Thank you for allowing me public comment. I just wanted to clarify some points. So the CEO of the hospital district and myself participated in group name Community Forum number 2, and it's listed under the challenges. It talks about the high incident of childhood diabetes and obesity, and that we developed a program, Fitness and Nutrition in Schools, and it was a challenge to get administration to focus on the health of students. That was, some of these that are listed as challenges is kind of taken out of context. We listed it in the early onset of this programming, how it was a challenge to get administration involved in it, but currently is not a challenge. Every last one of you sitting up on that stage have participated in the Fitness and Nutrition in Schools, plus our Active Marion program, the Community Home Project. You guys are phenomenal partners with the hospital district, and I just wanted to make sure that that was noted. One of the things that we were discussing was about 4 years ago, Dr. Brewer, this fell under her as her direct guidance and administration of the program, and that program has taken off. When she first took it over, we were in about 10 to 15 schools, and now we're in every single public school in Marion County, plus 13 private schools with this program. So I just wanted to clarify that point. Also, the behavioral and substance abuse issues. Dr. Brewer and I, we were looking at your data, and instead of being punitive to some of these first-time offenders, that's how the supportive enforcement program was birthed. I don't see it necessarily as a challenge. We were just making comments in regards to how things were going. And then we also talked about the improved morale over the district over the last several years. And so I just wanted to make sure that those points were clarified, that they weren't challenges that we noted, because we think you all are phenomenal partners.
Thank you so much for sharing that positive comment and clarification. It definitely is helpful.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. I do think Pastor Howard and Pastor Gamble wanted to.
Pastor Gamble.
Pastor Gamble? Okay. The mic is yours, but take your time. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Jerome Gamble. I live at 2350 Southeast 110th Street in Ocala, Florida. I am also the president of the Marion County branch of the NAACP. I have my form here, and I'll turn it in.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to come before you this morning. To each of you in your respective places, I know that the challenge of the job that you're doing and this search for a new superintendent for Marion County is an important one, and it is an extensive one. I appreciate the opportunity to see the information that is being shared with you by the consulting firm that is working on this. And I'm not sure where this meeting is supposed to end up today. But I think that a lot of work has gone into this, and that there have been a lot of people who have participated in it. I've applied for a lot of jobs in my life, and the thing that I know is that you want to be careful about the person that you are selecting. We've had an opportunity to observe our interim superintendent, and we've had an opportunity to interact with her on a number of occasions. We are excited about the possibility of her success in this search.
You have 1 minute remaining.
And we want to come before you today to indicate to you our support for Dr. Brewer in her search to become the superintendent of the Marion County School Board District. She has a history, she has a concern, and she is a person that we believe will bring success to Marion County in many ways. Thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing your remarks. At this time, we can come back, but is there anyone else in the audience who did not fill out a form but would like to give public comment? Okay. Well, board, I'm going to open it back up to you guys. Some of you we've heard more from and some not as much. Is there further comment the board would like to have regarding the results we received from HYA in phase 1 of our superintendent search? Board Member Thrower.
Thank you. I just wanted to extend my thanks to both of you for working with us so proactively and on an ambitious timeline and bringing us the information that you have in the format that you've presented it. It's very understandable and straightforward, and I appreciate your partnership in getting us to this place.
Thank you. Board, any further comment from the rest of the board? You don't have to talk if you're good. Yeah.
I
Okay.
mean, it just, what Board Member Thrower said there, just grateful for the process and what we've learned today. I believe at this point, I'm in the same question that Reverend Dr. Gamble is, not sure what the final outcome will be of this meeting and what the intention is moving forward. So I too am looking forward to that information, Reverend Dr. Gamble.
So why don't we, as a board, HYA, would you guys be able to provide us with, what are our next steps? What are some options for our next steps? Obviously, the board has had mixed discourse from the beginning. And so if you could provide us what kind of the next steps look like, and then board, we can get into it.
Bill, did you hear her? You're on mute.
No, I didn't. I didn't hear the.
So, Dr. James, if I can paraphrase it, the board is looking for guidance with regard to next options for next steps with regard to the process.
Okay, thank you. Unfortunately, with my computer, some of the voices are still coming through garbled. I apologize. As far as next steps, there's several options. We typically, at this point, in terms of engagement, ask the board to either modify or accept the desired characteristics. You can do that regardless of what you're going to do in terms of next steps of the search. If you were to continue the search, at this point, we would immediately, once you approve or modify the desired characteristics, immediately begin recruitment and would follow the schedule that we discussed at the planning meeting. If you choose not to do that and pause or end the search at this point, you can use the document, again, those desired characteristics, as an evaluative tool for any decisions you might be making with regard to your interim superintendent. Or you could use it as a tool for the job description that we're not sure at what stage you are at development of that. Our understanding was that you were working on a job description. But they're really the choices at this point. We do recommend that you either accept or modify the desired characteristics. The other information is presented as we gathered it, and you use that generally for developing questions of a candidate. You can use it for transition as well, or we can assist with transition. So they're really the next steps at this point.
Okay, thank you. And just for everyone's awareness, the job description is on our next work session, which is in about 2.5 weeks. And so we do intend to have the job description. I believe Ms. Morant is going to or has emailed it to the board so that the board can be made aware of the job description and any edits that you all may want to make or thoughts you may have ahead of the next work session. The expectation is to come with some of those thoughts prepared so we can have discourse as a board to discuss that job description. So just so the board is aware, and for HYA as well, we are intending to have that discussion this month about the job description. Regarding the options board, what are your thoughts?
I have one thought.
Okay, Board Member Thrower.
We're going step by step.
Absolutely.
I am comfortable with the desired characteristics document, and it would be my recommendation that we take that step and accept it, unless there's other members of the board that see reasons or areas where we would want to add or revise anything.
Okay, I would agree with Board Member Thrower. How do you all, the rest of you, feel about the desired characteristics?
Chair, I agree. I think the characteristics are appropriate and that they should.
Reverend Cummings, you need to just talk right into the mic. They can't hear you.
I think the desired characteristics are appropriate, and we could move forward with those, making sure that they're taken into consideration as we're looking at the job description as well.
Okay. Board Member Campbell, do you have thoughts on the desired characteristics?
I am in full agreement with the desired characteristics. I believe I have question with accepting it as presented, including the compensation piece. I think that the compensation piece should be left off of the desired characteristics form if we were to approve this as presented.
Okay. Do you have a reasoning for that, or is that just a?
I believe that's still subject to continued conversation that we would have as a board. I personally believe that if we were doing an extensive nationwide search, putting out that amount would be probable and a need, because someone from outside of this community would be searching for what that salary range would be in order to come here and move here and choose to make Marion County home. I think that we as a board can have additional conversations should we choose to move in the direction that has been recommended today by a community member, and potentially adjust that range as need be. So that's just where I sit right now.
Madam Chair, let me ask a question. Now, we said the desired characteristic. I didn't think the compensation piece was attached.
Well, it's on the.
It's at the bottom.
Right, and that's my point. Like, if we were to say, we are in consensus, we approve this, it would be approved as presented, and that one piece would need to be removed, in my opinion.
My opinion, too, that piece would not need to be there.
Board Member Thrower, since it was your first recommendation, do you have comment on it?
Yes, and truthfully, that caught my eye too at the bottom, but then I actually did read to the end, and I know you guys did too, but you know how we skim things. And I then was fine with it because it says, and subject to negotiations, benefits similar to other district employees, applicable Florida statutes, and subject to negotiations. So that's why I didn't bring it up as a point to delete, but I'm willing to. It's not the hill I'm going to die on. So if we have consensus to take it out, I'm okay.
Board Member Conrad?
I am in agreement. I did have one question. Have you ever gone back to collect more survey data? Have you ever done a second round of collection for information for this piece?
Bill, did you hear the question?
I'm sorry, I'm trying to talk right into the mic.
It's been asked if we've ever gone back and in a period of time and recollected the information on the survey. And I'm going to respond and you jump in. The answer is we haven't typically done that, but of course we could do that. That's, if you want to, obviously there's a fee involved, but we certainly could implement the survey at any given point in time in the future.
Okay.
And we haven't done it with searches, but with strategic plans, it's been used more than one time. It's been used to verify the data 6 months, a year later.
Okay, thank you for that. I feel as we move forward that the board is united and they feel secure in the next steps that we're taking. So Reverend Cummings, you expressed some doubt about missing pieces from the community. And so I want to make sure, you said you're okay with this data going forward, but I just wanted to offer that up if there's another opportunity to gather information. Would you feel better about moving forward?
Yes. I stand behind my initial statements. I feel that this survey did not touch those that I think it should have touched, or many people it should have touched. However, I understand that we have to continue to move the process forward because we are on a timeline. I don't want to rush the process, but I do want it to be a thorough process and transparent.
Okay.
Okay. Well, it sounds like we do all agree on the desired characteristics. And it does sound like there is at least a majority of us, I'm in alignment with the board. We'd like to remove the compensation component if we choose not to. I think the way I've heard it, board, and please summarize if I did not. We would like to remove the compensation component if we are choosing not to move forward. And if we do move forward, we will keep the compensation component on the desired characteristics. I think I heard that from a couple board members. Is that not reflective of what I heard?
I was saying remove the compensation component.
No matter what. I thought I heard Dr. Campbell say something different. That's why I'm clarifying.
I think some of this is we absolutely are approving it as the desired characteristics. I think leaving it or not, that kind of remains to be seen because we haven't yet determined if we're going to continue on with the process or not. So I say just remove it for now, and then certainly they can add it back if the need arises. But I would say definitely remove it for now.
Okay. So I think that's what we would like to do with the desired characteristics form is can you guys hear me? I'm very close to the microphone. Okay. We would like to remove the compensation 2 lines at the bottom of the document for now. And if we intend to add it back in the future, we'll definitely communicate that. Now, board, I think we're at a pivotal moment of the conversation as to what we are going to do next. So is there someone who would like to lead off the conversation as to how you would like to proceed? Board Member Thrower.
Thank you. I think I just heard that the next step is to review the job description. Is that correct?
Well, I think there was some harmonious next steps. So after approving the desired characteristics, we do have a work session to discuss the job description. But I believe HYA is looking for us to give them the go-ahead to move forward in the process today of a national search. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, I missed a word, but it's either, would you like us to move forward with the national search, or would you like to pause right here and now with regard to your search so that you can make decisions otherwise?
And that is what you're looking for from us today?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm a little confused because how can we move forward without a job description? I mean, they would need to post the job description. We haven't even discussed it yet in a work session, so.
Would you all be able to expand how you can post the job absence of our board-approved job description?
So yes, absolutely. As a part of our process, we post those documents that you see in front of you that you have right now, and that's what we use to actively recruit for the position. So for us, the next step would be to post the position on our website, as well as move forward with the advertising. Obviously, time is of the essence, depending upon, time is of the essence. And so we would move forward and start recruiting against with those documents, specifically those desired characteristics. It is our practice, it is our format. We typically do not post the job description from the school district on our website as a part of the recruitment activities. Those are discussed as we move forward. Certainly, if you want to pause until you have that job description worked through, that's an option that you can employ. However, as a part of our format, we move forward from this moment on with your approval, and we begin the recruitment process.
So, excuse me, Madam Chair. So basically, you're saying that if we move forward with the posting is only going to say Marion County vacancy and these characteristics. That's all it's going to have.
Yes, and we'll have a summary of a summary description of your school and your school district and your community based on the information provided here. So where you're located are some of the specifics, and then those documents are included.
As well as the compensation package, or at least a range. That's kind of one of the things we talked about in our last work session we were with you, the planning work session, correct?
Absolutely. You need that range that was stated in order to recruit, period. I mean, people want to know what you're willing to be out there with.
Of course. So Board Member Thrower, back to you. I think you weren't quite finished.
I'll just say that process sounds interesting to me. Any job I've ever applied for, even in more recent times, you look online and there's a job description and a salary range, and we just had conversation about taking out the compensation because that would be I don't know. It seems a little convoluted to me, but maybe that's industry standard and practice, and if so, I've learned something today.
Me too.
Board, I'm looking for the rest of the board to kind of discuss what we're doing next. There's an expectation for us to get there today. Board Member Conrad?
I understand that this is the practice that, and the system that you use. I personally don't feel comfortable without a job description. I, at this moment, would say lean into pausing and getting our job description together and working on that to move forward.
Okay.
I concur.
That would be my preference, but I guess that's not a surprise.
I'm completely in favor of pausing right now. And then determining once we figure out if we get the job description hashed out in one board work session or more than one, and figure out what that looks like. The one thing that, trying to decide if I want to say this or not, the one thing that concerns me about moving forward today and saying we are on a permanent pause, so let's just hypothesize for a moment. Again, I'm brainstorming in public. The one thing that causes me pause, personally, I want to see how our data looks. I want to see how our PM2 data looks in comparison to previous years. I want to see how PM3 data looks. And honestly, if our data is headed in the right direction, then I have no problem with moving forward with the current situation that we have. But if we don't operate from a position of being completely student data driven and making decisions based on that, I struggle with us saying, let's pause permanently, and I know that that's that's a big conversation to have right now that we can't have today because PM2 hasn't even started yet. It's starting in the next couple of weeks. So we're seeing a lot of positive energy. I think that you can say it's palpable, that our staff is feeling it, that we had really positive survey results from staff members that are feeling the one team, one mission, and all of that's wonderful. Students are seeing it, feeling it. We had a lot of student response, which, I mean, I think that's probably kudos to our student representatives, to the board who helped us get students. So, I mean, hey, that's a little bit on us too. No, I'm just kidding. But nevertheless, I think that all of that is incredibly positive. We've already talked about the discrepancy between how our community and some of our parents feel versus how our staff feels. But everything we do has to be student data driven. And so that's just where I sit right now. But I'm in full favor of us pausing today and then determining when we have the job description conversation, how long we want to pause.
All right, thank you for that thoughtful feedback, Dr. Campbell. And board, I want to just remind you of an email from the Adams team, which was sent to us October 8th, in case you want to look it up. It is the timeline that we discussed in our planning workshop that we did with HYA. And in that planning workshop, obviously, the intention of the meeting today was for them to then publish an advertisement for the months of December and January with an application deadline of January 30th. So the work session that the board is having is December 18th. And right now, the action item is a job description for the superintendent. Based off of Board Member Campbell's feedback, I would love to hear from the rest of the board, but potentially an action item we could add there is to, again, engage in the superintendent search. I'm not sure HYA would need to be there for that, but Mr. Whitehouse has confirmed that PM2 data as a summary will be available by the 18th, which I know is something that Dr. Campbell is looking for. And so how do we feel about adding a board agenda item for that work session for superintendent search, where we then discuss PM2 data and have further discourse about our next steps?
I can get on board with that.
Okay?
Yes, reviewing the data, if it's available, is important to our next steps. And I want to be married to student success, not a timeline, if it makes sense to adjust it as we proceed.
Okay.
My concern is about, again, it's going to be about student outcomes. I'm not stuck on a timeline.
Okay. So Adam's team, I think what I've heard from the board is that we are going to have another public discussion about our search on December 18th. After we discuss our job description, we will do that first. Board, do you feel comfortable doing the job description first? So we will do the job description on the 18th, and then following that conversation, we will then discuss our superintendent search and what we want to do next, including a conversation about our data. And then from there, we will engage with the Adams team about what our next steps looks like, or if there's just an adjusted timeline, and we can maybe engage via email. Do you all feel like you need to be present for that December 18th meeting? Or you can tune in live if you'd like, and then we can email back and forth with an adjusted timeline if needed. What does that look like for you all?
Bill, I know I'm not available on the 18th, but you may be available on the 18th. And if we are needed to be present, especially if it's in light of presenting an adjusted timeline, should you decide, should that be a part of your conversation, which I would imagine it would be, if you were considering to move forward.
Okay.
Bill, are you available? Bear with us.
Absolutely.
I certainly could be available virtually.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll be out of state on that date, but I'm available that morning or during most of that day.
Okay. Board, do you think HYA being able to participate in the second half of that conversation is pertinent? Or another theory behind this here is that I can summarize, send them an email of what it looks like, and then you guys can work on a timeline and maybe present in our first work session of January. That may be a little bit more feasible because we won't have a time certain for you, Mr. Adams. Sometimes we tend to chit chat for a while, especially about job descriptions. So it would be hard for me to provide you a time certain, most certainly about when we would be able to engage with you, seeing as we want to have the job description conversation first. So we could potentially just plan to have you join us in January for our first work session instead. Board, do you have thoughts on either of those options?
That's fine with me.
January?
Engaging in January is fine with me.
Okay, I see a nod from Dr. Campbell. Reverend Cummings a nod? Yeah? Okay, so then I think that is what we're going to intend to do. Do you have any further comments from the Adams team?
No, we thank you so much for today, and between now and January, we wish you happy holidays, Merry Christmas, whatever you celebrate, and keep us in the loop.
All right, board, any further comments for HYA before we let them go? Okay,
Thank you
thank
again. Yeah,
you
thank
all
you
very
again.
much for being here today and your work and commitment to our community. We really do appreciate it.
You're very welcome. You take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Aye.
Just one moment, and we're going to get our screen back. Well, that was very quick, Mr. Christian's team. So, board, we have made some decisions. I will summarize again real quick, just to make sure we are all on the same page. We will have a work session December 18th. We will talk about the job description. Ms. Morant will make sure we get that in our inboxes, and I would just ask that the board come prepared to add, delete, change, edit, however you so choose, so that we can have a productive discussion about the job description. Ms. Morant will help us lead that conversation. And then after we do that, the other item regarding the superintendent search we'll go into that, and Mr. Whitehouse will be able to provide us a nice, robust summary of PM2 data. Very high level, a very high level, not robust. So what can we expect, just so that we are all on the same page?
Sure. So we're starting PM2 testing today at some of our sites. The majority start tomorrow. The goal is to have all PM2 testing done in the next 2 weeks. We know that attendance from students is a little spotty the week before winter break, and so that will really be a lot of makeups or some small group testing for our students. So we can certainly provide a summative report of what we look at that point, diving in deeper. Obviously, school by school, it takes time to really match up students and make sure that we're providing accurate information, but we can absolutely give you a year-over-year comparison from a high-level stance.
All right, and board, I think let's just make sure we're all on the same page here. Year-over-year data by grade level is what we're looking for? Is that an accurate statement? I see Dr. Campbell's head nod.
I would say by grade level, as well as improvement and/or change data specifically for our lowest performing schools. So wanting to see how those schools that were in D status last year, what they're looking like projection-wise. Those are the specific things that I'm looking for to see how we're moving. And certainly, again, if we have schools that are trending downward, all of those kinds of things, potentially not necessarily calling out a specific school publicly, but I don't know, we might want to. It kind of, we don't know what we don't know yet. So, but I think certainly if those D-rated schools are trending upward, we want to know that and what that looks like.
Well, and I think it's important, because Dr. Brewer was able to place leaders ahead of this school year, understanding what her administrative decisions and leadership decisions have, what that impact looks like from a data perspective, right?
Agreed.
And so I think that's what we're looking to really understand is not just highlighting on the Ds, but there were also movements in other places. And so what do those changes that she and the leadership team were able to orchestrate, what results have they yielded for PM2 and what that looks like? Does that summarize it, board? Anything else you want to see regarding PM2 data from Mr. Whitehouse and the team? Ms. Vining, I should say, is probably the one who's going to be in the boots and the trenches with this, but.
Summative, yet granular.
Yes. Anything else?
Chair, if I can
Yes,
just
sorry.
comment, just a quick point of clarification. So we would not be able to publish a full data report a week in advance of that work session because we would still be in the throes of testing at that point, but I can certainly send it to you in advance of the meeting, perhaps the day before, just so you have a chance to look at it, and we can make handouts available to the public for some overview data.
Absolutely, and then we can get it uploaded once you email it to us. I think that is appropriate, for sure, because we're going to be in testing window. So it's important to note it is ever evolving. Okay. Board, do you guys have any further comment about this topic today that we discussed? No?
Right on.
All right. Well, then we will go into board committee, meeting reminders first. A school capital outlay surtax oversight committee is scheduled for December 3rd, 2025 at 4 p.m. We also have a school board meeting on December 9th, 2025 at 5 p.m. and a special school board meeting on December 18th at 7 a.m. for disciplinary matters. And then that follows the work session we were just discussing, which will be at 9 a.m. on December 18th. Seeing as I did not quite remember, and I'm glad I didn't wear my holiday sweater, board, please make sure we are dressed merry for the next two meetings. I would have looked very out of place in my tacky sweater that I bought from Walmart. So we will go into board member comments and committee reports. Is there anything from Ms. Martinez-Young?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, Mr. Powers?
Nothing from legal, thank you.
All right, Mr. Whitehouse?
Certainly. So I was going to mention PM2 dates, but we have that well established now, so we will be continuing testing for the next few weeks. We do have our winter career fair this Thursday from 4 to 6, so we are actively recruiting to fill any positions we have, so we look forward to getting some more folks in attendance and certainly to fill some of our vacancies. And then also our Leadership MCPS group is going to be visiting Fordham Early Learning Academy this Friday, followed by MTC. So they're going to see the full profile of Marion County Public Schools from pre-K to post-K. So we'll get the full view.
Would you be willing to send us the agenda and where they're going to be, at
Certainly.
what time?
Yep, absolutely.
We usually get that, and it really helps. Thanks.
Wonderful. Anything else?
Ma'am.
Thank you. Dr. Campbell?
Just looking forward to hitting the road today and heading to the FSBA FADS Joint Annual Conference, where several of us will be attending over the course of this week. Lots of wonderful things on the agenda. There's lots of committee meetings as well. Board of Directors meeting is happening tomorrow in case you happen to be down and want to just sit in on the meeting. Reverend Cummings, obviously, and I will be in that meeting to learn about the future of FSBA and what all we're doing there. And Attorney Powers, are you joining us this time around?
I am not.
Okay. All right. Well, and I know Dr. Brewer will be going, and we already have a couple of things planned and conversations. Also, to make you aware, conversation happening with Representative Chamberlain just as we were heading into Thanksgiving break, and need to follow up with him today about language specifically about a gifted education pilot for Marion County. So thank you, Mr. Whitehouse, for getting some numbers together for us to see, and we're just going to throw it out there and see if it sticks. Additionally, Dr. Brewer and I have the first of a couple of calls today with representatives in Washington, D.C., with I believe today is Senator Moody's office, if not Senator Scott's office. And so Dr. Brewer and I have a couple of those calls coming up just to make FaceTime over virtually with some of those folks to really start getting to know who they are and how they might be able to assist us at the federal level, which is something this district has never really taken part in, but looking forward to those conversations and seeing where that can go for us. And I believe that wraps it up. Thank you.
Awesome. Reverend Cummings?
No comments.
Board Member Conrad?
I just have a few things. One thing that just so basic the conversation led us back to today is that people work for people. And so I just think all of the conversation that we had this morning supported that very basic concept that people work for people. And so I just wanted to share that. Dr. James, tomorrow, Tuesday morning, will be my last board meeting with the Public Ed Foundation, and you're going to start on January, so I just wanted to touch base on that, correct?
I believe they sent me all the calendar invites.
Okay, you're good to go. Wednesday is Put Down Your Phone Day. Ms. McCall was here, but we have that going on Wednesday, so I just wanted to highlight that again. And just glad to be back at the board table, so thank you.
Board Member Thurr?
Thank you, and I hope everyone had a very restful and relaxing and safe Thanksgiving. Having that week off has become cherished. I've learned through my service to the Instructional Calendar Committee, and it is now a deeply entrenched tradition, so whoever jumps into that committee role after I leave, you may want to keep that in mind. but I sincerely hope that everyone has come back refreshed and ready with the pedal to the metal to get us through the next, what is it, about 18 days?
Yes, well, really only 15 days, instructional days.
Right, 15 instructional days before. And this is such a fun time to be visiting schools. They all have their own little traditions that they do for holiday celebrations. So in the midst of continuing to learn as much as possible and preparing for everything academically, the touch of fun is always great to witness. So that's all I'll have for today. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will wrap it up by saying I am grateful that we were able to have a rather uneventful Thanksgiving holiday as a community. We were able to have safe travels, and people really were able to enjoy fellowship with their families and talk about what they're grateful for. So that is always wonderful. 14 more wake-ups until Christmas break for school days. And so we ask that students are on time. We are going to be doing that PM2 testing, and it is imperative students are on time, well-fed, and well-rested so that they can perform well, and we can really understand what exactly they need so that we can help them achieve this last half of the school year. A lot of times there's a misconception that data is to recognize what the teacher is doing, but in fact, the data is to help the teacher change what they are doing to most impact the student achievement. And so the students showing up ready to test gives us a great opportunity to see where they are, where they need to go, and make a roadmap to get them to a successful landing point at the end of the school year. So parents, we love your investment and willingness to help us get there. I personally was able to enjoy time with my family and unplug a little bit, which is always very nice. And so I'm ready to take on the next few weeks, and the board, we're going to be together. We have two Christmas parades this weekend, board. We have the Denellen parade on Saturday. We need to be there by 5:30-ish. That's a very flexible arrival time because they're already lined up and we just kind of have to show up. Remember that generally we park on the other side of the bridge if you want to walk to the starting so that you then can have your car at the end. Remember the year we parked at Swampy's and then we got to have fellowship and dinner together. So, because we were stuck. So make sure you park on the other side of the bridge if you want to park and walk. And then on Sunday, we have the Bellevue Parade, parking at the Save-A-Lot and then walking to the park for the start. And then next weekend, we will have the Christmas parade. So that is all of the announcements I really have. I'm looking forward to a great couple weeks. And at that, we will adjourn the meeting, if there's nothing further, at 10:47. Thank you, and have a wonderful week, everybody.